This is John.
This is Steve, coming to you from Flint's beautiful east side, Studio 1714.
Today we're here with Lary Holland, and Larry contacted us, and he wanted to bring something to people's attention called equal parenting. And please tell us what that's all about.
John, thank you. Equal parenting basically is where a child or children spends the majority of their time divided between two parents, a substantially equal amount of time.
Okay, and now you probably got into this because of a personal event in your life. Would you like to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, my children are ages 8 and 7. 3.5 years ago I got into a personal custody dispute for custody of my children, and I was wondering why there was such an uphill battle to obtain equal custody for my children.
Okay, explain more of that.
Basically, I hired the attorneys, and I basically went through the same thing that everybody does, motions, court dates, times, and I was wondering why I could not get more than 14% custody with my children. And the reason why was because I learned that the courts essentially got paid to create absent parents, which prompted me to basically become an advocate for a reform of a federal program that pays the states to do this. That program is called Title 4D. It's part of the Social Security Act, and I'm also an advocate of various family policy law reform in the state of Michigan because of my personal experience.
Now, it's like you've been active. How long? How many years you said you've been involved with this? Like creating the organization and getting the support behind you. How long has that been going on?
The past 3 years, I've been very active. Once I saw that my personal case wasn't where change was going to be made at, I became an advocate on a public level 3 years ago.
Now, you actually brought a couple of information sheets with you, and would you like to express anything from those? Not talking about any of that stuff, the highlights.
Yes, in Michigan we have basically a new House bill introduced by Representative Steele called House Bill 4564, which is a Michigan Presumption of Equal Custody Act, which will basically level the playing field for children to be able to spend substantially the same amount of time with both their parents.
I mean, that's the way that it should be, honestly. I mean, if two parents decide they can't, be together, then if you can't decide who's going to have what, then it should be pretty much a 6 on 6 off is what I would think. Or rotate. I mean, my brother's going through it, the same as what you are, but nothing like what you're going through. I don't understand it.
Well, Steve, you raised an interesting point. It's the natural way because children are born through the union of a mother and a father. Naturally, just because of a relationship, dissolves doesn't mean that the parenting should dissolve as well. Just because you don't get along with a coworker at your job doesn't mean that your job goes away. It means that you focus on your job and you don't focus on the personal relationship.
Focus on what's paying your bills, not on the negative.
Right.
That's how it's kind of messed up.
Another thing is I don't understand. It seems like the court system, society overall should be kind of really behind this because if you look at the huge amount of cost connected to what you're talking about, creation of single-parent families, that goes basically on the shoulders of the American taxpayers. The local and city and state levels and federal level. Why do these seem like they want to create more single-parent families and shut out the father? Why do you think that is?
It's not necessarily where they just want to shut out the father, but they want to shut out a parent because that creates an absent parent model. By creating an absent parent model means that the employees that are involved with the court system here in the state, basically their funding begins when there's an absent parent. So federal money comes into the state money then gets placed onto the local level when that absent parent has been established. So essentially they must create an absent parent. As part of the program, there's $4.2 billion last year were available for states to compete to create absent parents. So even though it's a tremendous amount of cost to the taxpayer, we have employees that depend on this money to keep their jobs.
Now, another thing is, too, just not only the financial cost of it, there's like a definite human cost at stake here. You have statistics about, what happens with children who are born in single-parent families and what can happen. And there's actually children that seem to do better into the traditional role where parents are living together and are involved in children's lives. So these seem to do you think this is part of a larger political agenda, perhaps?
I think that it is part of a larger political agenda, and what's happening is that through what previously was known as the feminist movement has kind of been morphed into a movement that is government sponsored growth. They need to fund their own. They need to fund their own programs. So they create incentive programs that are competitive and forces everybody to fit a mold. So by fitting people into a particular mold, they can generate an assembly line for more federal funding.
Well, see, that's kind of how I'm seeing it, is that our state is making money on making independent parenting.
They're making money on the backs of our children.
Right.
Basically,
making it a one.
Yes,
You know,
they're basically establishing that the state is the only one that can make decisions for the children, and they're trumping the parents' rights to be parents. So in doing so, they're creating a funding mechanism on the backs of our kids.
Well, they're doing it times two then, pretty much, because we just did a show not too long ago with HC about how single parenting homes with children, how the children seem to have more problems, you know, ADHD, you know, I mean, tons of problems, you know, because of being raised in single parent homes.
Yes, by creating single parent homes, it also creates a huge dependence on available community services, which in turn creates more jobs for government employees.
It's the big fish's shark circle for this, that's just,
Yeah,
the more you learn about it, the more you hate your state.
Well, some people say it's rather cynical to say that the reason why they're doing this is to get more money and to create more jobs and to basically create job security. But from what I've seen, and from not only from this instance but other things involved in the government, that is the case. That is, they just want to have job security. They want to have
Create state funding.
Just create more state. Well, bring in more state, more funding
to bring more money in.
And the thing is, people don't realize the government does not create anything. It doesn't create money. It doesn't create finances. It just takes from somebody else. And right now, the state is actually facing what? We're in a one-state depression. And when you look at all the other 50 or 49 states, and with this kind of, there's all these other things that's going to pay off. It's not have any payoff down the road. It's actually be a very negative factor for the state of Michigan, for the country overall, is doing what they're doing. Continuing what they're doing is actually going to have more of a human, tragedy behind it.
I would agree. Basically, what we have here is a way to begin fixing this issue. House Bill 4564 will level the playing field and allow a child to be involved with both their parents' lives substantially equal amount of time. It'll eliminate dependence on many of the social programs. Unfortunately, Brenda Clack, who chairs our Children and Family Services Committee at the House of Representative level, basically is the one in charge of bringing our House bill up for a vote. And basically she has not brought this up for a vote, which kind of stymies debate, so we can't really discuss the issue until she decides to open up and put this onto the schedule.
Has she stated a reason why she's been opposing this, or hasn't brought it up, wants to bring it up?
Last year we had House Bill 5267 basically. House Bill 5267 was our equal parenting presumption bill, and essentially when she brought it up for a vote, she actually did not support the bill. She did not state reasons why necessarily she didn't support the bill, but one can insinuate obviously that they're trying to balance the budget with kids being separated from parents.
It's just not good.
No, it's
I just don't think that's good.
I don't see how that creating this, doing this is going to pay off for anything, for anybody involved.
Well, I mean, it's going to pay off for Michigan. It's going to pay off for the state of Michigan.
For the bureaucracy.
Yeah.
But not in the human cost, and that's what they're supposed to be safeguarding. They're supposed to be protecting.
This is Steve.
This is John. This is Studio 1714.